Cathy's back straightened. She didn't want anyone, least of all Lee, to know she was upset, much less the reason why.
"I'm fine, thanks," she replied. "Supper is cooking itself tonight."
Lee was the Army's leading counterintelligence expert. He had been sent on this expedition to ward off possible attacks or acts of sabotage by the British or the Russians. His identity as an Army officer had been kept secret when he first joined the wagon train, but by now his real status had become known. Noting Cathy's rigid self-control, Lee knew instantly that something was very much amiss. He could guess the reason for her distress, and perhaps he could help. Not that he wanted to smooth her relations with Whip. He wasn't keen on helping that relationship along. Besides, Whip would have his hands full now that his Indian mistress had joined the train. No, Lee was acting strictly for Cathy's sake, and he knew for his own. A confirmed bachelor in his mid-30s, who had always said that his profession would make it impossible for him to marry. He had entertained second thoughts in recent weeks, since meeting Cathy van Ayl. However, his first task was to restore Cathy's wounded dignity. The train had a long way to travel, and he would take his time advancing his own suit, letting it develop naturally now that his competition was out of the running. He could feel sorry for Whip, knowing the guide's interest in the young widow was genuine. "May I speak freely? I know how you feel." She became even more tense.
"You do? How?"
Lee shrugged. "I've come to know Whip well, and he's a fine man," he said. "I'm sure he regards this new development as very unfortunate."
"I prefer not to talk about him," she said coldly.
"Just for a moment, if you don't mind." He was firm, feeling he had to clear the air on Whip's behalf before revealing his own deepening interest for her. "Mountain men are a strange breed, working alone for months, always by themselves when they're hunting and trapping. At best, it's a lonely life, which is why many of them drink too much. La-ena is a pretty girl, and you can't blame Whip for giving in to temptation."
"She appears to be very attractive," Cathy said. "But Whip's personal life is strictly his own business and has nothing to do with me."
"Quite so." Enough of being fair to Whip. Now Lee was on his own. He paused, then cleared his throat. "Your new buckskin outfit is very pretty. Did you make it yourself?" She nodded.
Tony Martin, that is, now that she's married, helped me cure the skins. We weren't taught things like that in New Haven and on Long Island, but I did all of my own sewing."
"You're clever with a needle." A more sophisticated woman might have smiled at the clumsiness of his praise, but Cathy had had little experience with men. Married at 16 to a contemporary of her father's, who had bedded her only on their wedding night, and until his death last year had treated her like a daughter, she failed to recognize Lee's remark as a signal of his interest in her. All the same, she was aware of that interest through a more obvious sign, the admiration that she saw in Lee's eyes, and she warned herself to be careful. Her older sister Claudia, who had reared her after the premature death of their mother, had told her frequently that it was dangerous to plunge into a new romance too soon after being disappointed in love. One's judgment was apt to be clouded. But the warmth Lee was expressing was precisely the balm Cathy needed. Lee was forthright and honest, always a gentleman, and exceptionally handsome. What was more, he had to be very bright to have risen to such a high rank at his age. It was flattering to be singled out by such a man, and Cathy's quick smile was as brilliant as it was natural.
"If you need any sewing done, just let me know," she said. "It must be hard for a man traveling alone to attend to such chores."
"That's kind of you," he answered. "But I wouldn't want to burden you. After all, you're taking care of your own wagon and team, and you're in charge of fixing meals for all of us, so you have your hands full." She spoke slowly and deliberately, and if there was a trace of coquetry in her attitude, she didn't realize it.
"I always have time for my friends."
In the distance, they heard someone banging on a pie plate, signaling that supper was ready. The notice was given by Cindy, a former prostitute from Louisville, who was hoping to create a new life for herself in Oregon. Cathy promptly felt a twinge of guilt. Cindy was not only her first assistant, but also her confidant, and tonight she was bearing the full responsibility for the meal while Cathy indulged her own feelings.
"Oh dear, I'm neglecting my duties," she said.